Hello, everyone. Jax West from Stephen Avery Project, Justice with Jax, and MAM Gossip. Waiting to see if it's going to show me comments. Let me click off of this one. Let me click off of this one that I still need Jeff to update for me. Comments. Okay, so hopefully I will see the comments when they begin. And there they come, with Christopher first with the flower and then Bryce. Hello, everyone. So today, sup, camera? We're going to update you on the, if you want to call it a candlelight vigil or memorial. We've had people say both ways, sup, cat, and the rally for Stephen that we have next month at Waupun. And now I have a stupid pop-up. Hello, everyone. I see Samantha and Natalie and Stephanie. So, I did talk to Stephen, and now another pop-up. I need Jeff to look at my laptop. I only use this for when I go live. So, is the video not showing for you, Bryce? Yee. Okay. Let me keep going for now without being distracted squirrel. I talked to Stephen on Sunday. So this is the first time I have talked to Stephen in a couple of years. So for his meddling family who keep putting out there that things that I had posted about putting money in Stephen's commissary or to Kathleen Zellner came from Stephen. I've corrected this. Thank you, Mike. I've corrected this already, but let me reiterate again. Those were my words. Nothing Stephen asked me to post. That was me before I was having contact again with Stephen. So, because we at Stephen Avery Project would get posts and messages from people on the death of Dolores asking where they could send flowers or whatnot. And I stated the same thing that I always say. If you want to throw money at this case, you put it in Stephen's commissary or you put it in Kathleen Zellner's account. And you can access both of those from Kathleen Zellner's website, KathleenTZellner.com. And then you click on the page for Stephen Avery, and then she has the information listed right there on how to put money in his commissary or to put in his, or to Kathleen Zellner for legal expenses. Yes, this case is pro bono, so there is no money out of Stephen's pocket for Kathleen to represent him. But why should it be Kathleen's problem to cover all the costs with all those experts? And Kathleen also represents lots of other people who are wrongfully accused, Melissa Kaluzinski being one of them, and I will be visiting Melissa tomorrow, actually. So if you put money in Kathleen Zellner's account and it's not needed for Stevens, hey, guess what? She could use it on taking some other case that maybe people can't afford Kathleen Zellner. So let me put that out there. Okay. And no, Kathleen has not lost faith in the case. She's not left the case, blah, 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 blah. She has said over and over again that it takes roughly 15 years to overturn a wrongful conviction once she takes the case. And she's only been on the case since 2016. So it is just the Smurfy way that our judicial system works here in the States, that it takes this long to volley things back and forth in the courts. So, and where is Stephen's case now? I'm just trying to answer all the stuff we get asked every time we do a live. Where's Stephen's case now? We're still waiting for the judge's response to the last filing that Kathleen did forever ago. And they do not have a time limit. So we're just waiting. And as soon as that comes out, we post it immediately as soon as we can get it. All the filings in the past, either, oh, I just got an email from Melissa Kaluzinski. What was I saying now? Either Kathleen, if it's her filing, which this wouldn't be, but typically her filing, she posts on her website, so we are able to get the link from there. But when it's something else, I contact the clerk and I pay them. They charge me $1 or something or whatever it is. I can't remember how much it is per page. And then I get that emailed to me. And then we go live and we read that for y'all. Somebody asking me, did he do it though? If you're asking, did Stephen do it? Absolutely not. This is Steven Avery Project. We are a support page for Stephen. We 100% believe in his innocence. So people who believe the other way, this is not the right page for you. We don't question guilt or innocence here. We know that he is innocent. And how do we know? Because all the evidence and science and facts all point to that. So, and it's not something, we're just not going to debate it. There's no need to debate it. You can go to a family page for that if you want to talk about him possibly being guilty, because he's not. All right. So, let me also then, since I mentioned talking to Stephen, and I talked to him on Sunday, and he again wants me to let you all know that Dolores's services were paid for by Alan a long time ago. Alan made the arrangements for both himself and his wife a long time ago. So it's paid for. Stephen said that's also why things were being handled in Green Bay as opposed to something that's closer, because that's where Alan paid for. So anything you see from any Avery family claiming that it's not paid for and that this little family party that they had, because there was no wake, there was no funeral, they had a family party that there was roughly about 40 people at. Bobby Dassey was there. She was cremated. You do not need to send family or money to any Avery family member for Dolores. Period. It's hard for people to understand, for some people, not all people, because some of us know just because somebody's related to you doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart or that they're good people. Blood is not thicker than water. Sometimes the family you make is better than the one you're born with. This family, the entire time, okay, sorry, was reading Squirrel, somebody's post. This family, except for Alan and Dolores, has been very negative towards Stephen the entire time. No, Stephen did not get a chance to say goodbye. His family kept it from him, even though they knew that her final week she was going to die. Nobody told Stephen, so he could say goodbye. Um, this family did not go visit Stephen until Making a Murderer came out. Um, I have the visitors list that goes, it's not the entire time, it's from 2010 up until COVID when visitation had started. It's not updated now since visitations have resumed. But it's okay. So, in those 10 years, I've got my little handy dandy list right here. In those 10 years, Earl Avery went to the prison a total of 19 times. 19 times in 10 years. And that's after Making a Murderer came out. His dad is not against him. Alan isn't on the phone. That's the really only way he can talk to Stephen. It would be by phone, and he's very hard of hearing. So it's not as easy to talk to Alan. And he's up in Crivets most of the time. I know Carla gets all upset when I say that Alan is at in Crivets the majority of the time. I don't understand why that's a problem. That's his retirement home, and he is retired. Uh, Chuck Avery has owned the salvage yard since I believe it's 1999. Ellen Avery has not owned the salvage yard in a long, long time. This is Chuck's business. Now, Alan stays in Crivets. That's where he loves to be. And then there's times he comes back to the salvage yard and he'll help his boys out. It's not his business. So for people who are saying that because Stephen has asked for nobody to buy any shirts that have his name or his likeness on them, and that includes the Avery Auto Salvage. Because why should his family make money off of his misery, especially when his family treats him so horribly? So there are people that will say if you don't give money to the salvage yard, then that is hurting Alan. Okay, those are the things that Carla will say now because now that she doesn't have her grandmother to use anymore to try and fleece people for money, now it's going to be all Alan. So she's saying that if you don't help out the salvage yard, that hurts Alan. It's not Alan's business anymore, it's Chuck's. Alan has his money. Alan is well taken care of. Like a lot of people, when they get older and they retire, they have saved their money so they can retire and not have to work. Alan is not dependent on the salvage yard. The salvage yard is not suffering due to the case. So you don't have to give money to the family to make up for money that they're claiming they're losing. They just spent like $150,000 on new equipment for the salvage yard. If your business is doing so horribly, A, why would you be buying the new equipment? And B, how do you have that money to pay for it? They have tons of toys, tons of homes. Talk to Earl. He'll tell you all that. He brags about all of his toys. So do not give any money to the Avery family, period. And this is coming straight from Stephen. Stephen does not want you giving any money to his family. And Stephen is also not asking for any money from you. At the end of our phone call, because now if you've listened to any of the jail calls that have been out there, you've then heard the recordings that come on. And so the recording will come on at the end saying you have 1 minute remaining. And so that 1 minute, to wrap up the call. And so I said to him there, is there anything you need? And he says, no, I'm good right now. So he's not asking for anything. And then I said, is there anything you would like me to post on Stephen Avery Project to send out to your supporters? And he said he's going to call me this week and he'll give me an update that he wants me to put out to y'all. But I did get word today that Stephen has a little project he would like me to do. There's some information he would like sent to his family. So I do not know exactly what that is right now. But when I get that, I'm thinking maybe I will give it out to all y'all, and you also could send it to them. Let everybody send them that information to make sure they get it. So stay tuned for that. How is Stephen coping with the loss of his mom? When I talked to him, he was the Stephen that I always remembered from the past when I used to talk to him and visit him. He was laughing, he was joking, even though he was mad because most of the phone call was him talking about things that his family have been doing and keeping his mom away from him and what they do to him. But he was still, in a good mood. I asked him how he is since his mom passed away, and he says he's doing better. But he knows that now she is always with him. So, and yes, Chuck is against Stephen too. There isn't any Avery other than Alan and then Kim Ducat. Those are the only ones that I know of that have Stephen's best interest in mind. Basically, anybody you see in those family groups, um, you just ignore those people who would be in those groups. Um, so this candlelight vigil / memorial, whatever you want to call it, and the rally that we're doing is because Stephen wants some attention for his case. He's not happy with what the family does with what they claim is a rally. And so he wanted something that is truly in support of Stephen. And yes, Stephen regularly talks to Kim now. So, which is great. I'm so happy that Stephen and Kim have been allowed to reconnect. So, we are doing the Dolores Candlelight Vigil on Friday, August 20th. That is Dolores's birthday. So we are going to do that at 8 p.m. at Waupun Correctional in Waupun. So it's 8 to 9 p.m. is when that will be. Don't know if it will really be that dark at that time, but the prison is also in a neighborhood. There's literally houses right across the street. So I don't want to do it too late. I don't want to be um, a problem for the neighbors, especially since we're going to be there again the next day. Um, so there is a hotel. Let me open Christopher's message to me. Myself and Bryce have already booked rooms at a hotel, and Christopher has reached out to the hotel to get them to block some rooms for people if they wanted to stay at the same hotel. I'm scrolling back to get the information from him. Um, they're not giving really any. There's no real discount or anything. It's just they're blocking rooms, so you would have to say you're there, that you're reaching out due to the West. I think it's like the West reunion. My last name is West, and so that's how Christopher booked it. And they're holding 15 rooms, and it's called the American. So it's AMERIC and then capital INN, American. Um, American by Wyndham. Wyndham is WYNDHAM, which is in Waupun. And so it is literally like a 9-minute drive from the prison, that hotel. It's not the cheapest hotel. It's not the most expensive hotel. I booked my hotel through Expedia.com. And so I reserved it. I'm going to be there both Friday and Saturday night. And so it was $110 a night for through that. But then when Christopher called the hotel, I guess that is a July only special to get that rate. So if you want to get that $110 rate, you have to book that in the next 2 weeks, before July is over. Other than that, it's like $124 a night. So Friday, August 20th, Dolores's birthday, is the first night we will be there. And so I have an itinerary. Another pop-up just came up. And this will all be put into the events, and we'll make posts too, so you can have the details from the itinerary. So on Friday, August 20th, you can check into the hotel at 3 o'clock. So I plan on getting there at 3. I figure we will do a meet and greet at the hotel from 5 to 6 p.m. Then we'll do dinner together from 6:30 to 7:30. And then we'll drive to Waupun for the vigil from 8 to 9. And then what we do afterwards, Oh, Stacy's hometown, so hope to see you there. What was I going to say there? Now I got distracted from that. I will be going live from the candlelight vigil. So as long as we have good service. I think, did we have decent service last time? I think we had decent service last time. So something that I ordered, or I had my husband order, is instead of lighting candles, I have ordered tea lights that I'm going to paint purple. So instead of using an actual flame and having to worry about wind or whatever, I ordered these tea lights. And so that's what we will hold instead. I told Jeff to order 50 of them. I don't know how many people will be there. Maybe we won't even have anywhere near 50. Or if you want to bring something special yourself to light, or to, a purple candle. Okay, because let me go back a minute. When I talked to Stephen, I asked him what was Dolores's favorite flower. He said he didn't know. He said one of those that looks like a tree, so I'm not sure what that was, and that her favorite color is purple. So that's why I'm going to paint the tea lights purple. Then something I want anybody who is coming to the candlelight vigil, I thought it would be nice if everybody brought flowers, and that we would make a memorial for Dolores at the prison that we leave there. So we would leave the mound of flowers for for Dolores there at the prison. And something else I thought of that something people could do is paint a rock with your message for Dolores or about Dolores or that Stephen is innocent. Keep your message PC, you know, nothing vulgar. And we could also leave those around Waupun or in the neighborhood or anywhere else we go, little messages for Dolores and Stephen. And then I'm going to want all of you who can't attend to make a sign at home about your support for Dolores, lighting a purple candle for Dolores, um, whatever you would like. And then we'll have a thread here on Stephen Avery Project where you could share your pictures from the day. So that's how we would like y'all to add to that. For dinner, also, I was looking, there's so many restaurants and everything, and maybe the person who says that that's their hometown could help. But for those that don't know Wisconsin, if you go to Wisconsin for any period of time, yep, Kat, no F you, Barb. um, when you go to Wisconsin, you want to go to a supper club for one of your meals. So there's a place called the Britton House Supper Club. So I thought maybe that's where we would go Friday night for dinner. I don't know how difficult it would be because also in Wisconsin, Friday nights are big fish fry night, which is excellent. So maybe it would take us a little time to get in. But Kirsten saying release purple balloons. No, I don't encourage anybody to release balloons because I'm one of those wackadoos that likes to save the animals. And when those balloons pop and an animal gets that latex, it and they eat it, it could kill them. Or birds get tangled up in it. So no releasing of purple balloons, but somebody could have a purple balloon there. You just don't release it. So, but paint a rock purple and write RIP Dolores. Speaking of that, we also started a Facebook group for Dolores called RIP Dolores Avery. And that group is to be only for writing messages of how you remember Dolores, thoughts for Stephen on the passing of his mother, um, anything like that. We're not discussing the case. We're not talking about how horrible the family is and what they did to Dolores. None of that. This is just for positive messages. And I did tell Stephen that we started that little page for her and that it's meant to be a time capsule. So when Stephen is free and has access to the internet, he can then go and read all of these messages. So it is a closed group because we need to be able to moderate in case there's guilters or whatever that try to post crap there. So you have to click to join, but we approve almost anybody as long as you're not somebody who is already banned from one of our other groups, that it's known that you're trouble for whatever reason. So um so go to the, RIP Dolores Avery and post pictures of Dolores or, clips or, whatever you want there in remembering Dolores, that one day Stephen will be able to see them. So, all right. So we went over the Candlelight Vigil Memorial, whatever you want to call it, on Friday, August 20th. Meet and greet at the American by Wyndham in Waupun from 5 to 6 p.m. That hotel does have a pool and a lounge and a bar and meeting rooms. Thank you, Christopher, for sharing the group. So we'll be doing the meet and greet in either the bar or the lounge or whatever. In the actual events that Christopher has made, so for candlelight, the candlelight vigil, the candlelight memorial one, that's where all the updates for Friday's events will go. So we'll be posting in that event where we are for sure, so people who are there can find where we're at. So meet and greet from 5 to 6, dinner from 6:30 to 7:30 at hopefully the Britton House Supper Club, and then the candlelight memorial from 8 to 9 at Waupun Correctional. And something else to note, right by the prison as well, or there is a Taco Bell, an A&W, like A&W root beer. And if you've never been into the Midwest and had an A&W hamburger, it's really good. And a McDonald's. So there are lunch options, all over the place there too. That's not a sit-down restaurant. All right, so then Saturday, August 21st. Now, the hotel, the American by Wyndham, that Bryce and I are staying at, and hopefully some of y'all will be joining us there, they do include there's a breakfast room, so there's the free continental breakfast. So I don't have that on the itinerary of breakfast at such and such a time. We'll determine that from the people who are there and what's going on. But the rally will be from 1 to 3 p.m. And these are all central time, like Chicago time. My time zone here in the Chicago suburb is the same as it is in Waupun. So it is 1:30 p.m. right now. So from 1 to 3, we will be at Waupun. And I will also go Facebook Live during that rally at Waupun. So 1 to 3 at the rally, and then pool time at the American for anybody who is staying at the hotel from 3:30 to 5. And then we'll do dinner from 6 to 7:30. Not sure yet where we're going to do dinner. Figured since we would be in the area, we would figure out something at that time too, instead of me just looking at everything online. And if you're from the area and you have suggestions, let us know. And then so dinner from 6 to 7:30, and then our happy hour live will be from 8 to 9, which will be done from the American. Bryce is going to play lifeguard during our pool time. Yeah, just because we're doing pool time doesn't mean you have to swim. You can just come and hang out by the pool, or there's also a hot tub there. So if you just want to get in the hot tub, just some socializing time. But our happy hour live from 8 to 9 will be somewhere in the American, maybe the bar, or maybe if we move into a meeting room, don't know yet. Like I said, we'll update that on the event. And then that is where we will talk about the two events. And the people who are at the hotel with us will be able to give their thoughts on the things that happened and how they feel about the events or the case or whatever. So that'll be from 8 to 9 p.m. Something I forgot to mention for the candlelight vigil. I want those of you in attendance, if you are up for it, I want everybody to get a turn and to speak and to say a little something about Dolores. So if you want to prepare something and read it, you just want to go off the cuff, you do not have to. I understand there's people who don't like to speak in front of other people. Got it. You don't have to if you want to. So don't forget that part too. Um, so happy hour live from 8 to 9 Central Time. Then Sunday is checkout day. You have to check out by 11 a.m. Last year we all met for breakfast before we took off to go back home. So I thought we'll also play that by ear if we do just the continental breakfast, free breakfasting at our hotel. But then there's also people who may not be at the hotel that we're staying at. Maybe they preferred to stay somewhere else. So maybe that day we would go to a restaurant for the breakfast. And I did find there's a place called Wild Goose Cafe that could be an option to go to for breakfast. And when I was also searching restaurants, let me just say there was a place called, is it Goose? Guth, Goose End of the Trail. It's like an old fashioned candy store in town. Just saying. So, those are the plans we have scheduled so far. And like I said, these will be updated in the events to give y'all the itinerary so you'll know the times this is all happening. Will Stephen be able to hear any of the rallies? That is the hope. Oh, Stephanie can't make it this year. Bummer. That is the hope that Stephen will be able to hear or see. Don't know for sure. We're also going to reach out to press and try and get press there, because if we get it on TV, then Stephen can see it. So if anybody has contacts with the press in Wisconsin or any national press, or if there's any national press watching this video, like we have somebody from Newsweek who reaches out to us all the time about the case. So if any, big national news outlet wants to reach out to us to organize coming to either event, and that means they're going to want to interview the people who attend. So, you can message Stephen Avery Project, our Facebook page. We also have the email is official Stephen Avery Project at gmail.com. So send it our way that way. I also encourage people to make a shirt. Don't buy one. Stephen really doesn't want any buddy buying shirts that have his name or his likeness on them. So buy yourself a white t-shirt and make your own. Um, Sorry, but my husband owns a print shop, so I'm having him make me a shirt. Um, so I'll be wearing that. Um, but anything you can do to show support for Stephen or in remembrance of Dolores. And Stephen wants everybody there. He just he he's upset with how long it's taking, and he doesn't want people to forget about him, which of course nobody's forgetting about Stephen, but that's how he feels. He feels he's being forgotten. So that's why he wants a rally. And it was Bryce who suggested, when we talked about this previously, when we found out Stephen wanted a rally, um, Bryce is the one that said, "Oh, Dolores's birthday is August 20th." And with that being a Friday, it's not as easy for people because there will be people who just come for the day to do it on a Friday if they work and whatnot. So that's why we changed it up, that we're going to have the candlelight vigil memorial on Friday on Dolores' actual birthday, and then the rally is the next day on the Saturday. And I try to, when I schedule these lives, and I try to schedule everything around 1 p.m. my time, because it seems to be the best time for all the time zones around the world. I know it doesn't fit for everybody, but it seems to be this is the best time, so more people are available. And the videos stay up so you can watch the replays later. But for the people who want to be a part of it and ask questions while I'm actually here, that maybe I'll be able to answer your questions. So that's why everything gets scheduled for 1 o'clock, unless it's a spur of the moment thing that something got released. Um, and so I'm coming out to bring you the news immediately. That's when it changes from 1 o'clock. And then obviously, when you're doing a candlelight vigil, you're not going to do it at 1 o'clock. So that's why that one's going to be at 8 p.m. But I scheduled the happy hour live the next day for also 8 p.m. So I am really bad with numbers. And so I would have a hard time figuring out what time that is in my time zone. So I get it. So that's why I try and make it as simple as possible for everybody. And then Christopher always gives you guys the heads up. He posts reminders of the events. So, we'll try and do that too, to remind you, where we make a post an hour or two ahead of time saying live will be in an hour from when this post was made. So maybe that helps. And so everybody can be there. Um, let's see. Heather says, I told Steven his fingernails would sell for thousands. I once told him he could get his hair cut and put his hair in a baggie and people would buy that. And I've told this story a million times, but he cracked me up because he said he would never do that because he doesn't want his DNA going places, um, which is hysterical and totally, totally right on there. So let me go back and recap for things, because we always get people who are just jumping on that. Yes, Steven's mother, Dolores, sadly passed away a couple of weeks ago, and the family had kept Dolores away from Steven for, according to Earl, in when he talked to TMZ, they kept Steven away from her for 8 to 9 months. They did a little trickery in doing that. And Carla had made a post in her family fan group that they were going to remove Dolores from the home she was in and put her in another one and not tell Steven where it was. And so Steven was of the belief that Dolores had been moved, and really they just kept her right there. So Steven's trying to figure out where she is. There's nowhere he can call. But they kept her in the same spot. And Steven's niece, Kayla is Earl's daughter. Kayla is the one that you saw in Making a Murderer when she was 14 years old, that she lied about Brendan and really got the police to focus on him, saying that he confessed to her that he was a part of the Teresa Halbach farce. Jeff, is my husband's home from work. I just heard his car pulling. Um, so Kayla is the one that lied about Brendan, and then when she was put on the stand, she took it back and said she had lied. Kayla worked at the home that Dolores was in, and to try and keep Steven from Dolores, she filed a temporary restraining order against him, citing harassment. And then she took him to court wanting to get a permanent restraining order for harassment. And by harassment, she means like he would call her trying to find his mother, and that he would call the facility upset, trying to talk to his mother and getting nowhere. Um, so Stephen had every right to be upset. And so this is family. Hello. Are you just stopping or are you? Okay. Jeff's home from job number 1 and then going to job number 2. Um, so again, why, who cares about family? Because look at what the family has done to Stephen. And Bryce bringing up that Kayla made a post thinking Brendan was forced to do something. So there's Kayla now, recently, in the last couple of weeks, posting in Carla's fan group that Brendan is guilty and that Stephen made him do something. So why care at all about this family? They do not support Stephen and Brendan's innocence. They support whatever they can get. Bye. They support whatever they can get out of supporters, is all that it is. How could you keep Stephen and Dolores apart? Understand she has dementia. Understand that maybe she didn't know who Stephen even was. I do not know the level of her dementia. But you're claiming you all talked to her and would go visit her. Why is it okay for you to talk to Dolores and not okay for Stephen? Why couldn't somebody just put a phone on speakerphone and let Stephen say whatever he wanted to say to his mom? Alan told the family, not Stephen, because nobody told Stephen. Um, Alan told the family Dolores was going to die that week and to say their goodbyes. Nobody gave Stephen that option. Why don't they support Stephen? Money. First of all, Chuck and Earl did not, well, Stephen's always been the favorite. So there's the jealousy from that, period. Then there's Stephen's truly the only one that cared about the salvage yard and enjoys working there. So they do not want Stephen free to have to divide up the salvage yard money with Stephen. They want it all to themselves. Then, here we go. Then, Stephen had his $36 million lawsuit. They wanted that money. Stephen's in prison. Who gets that money? Who gets that $36 million? It's not going to be in Stephen's commissary. Dolores would be overseeing that money. We know family has stolen from Dolores on multiple occasions. Dolores has been manipulated by her family. And she loves her family. So um, they thought they would be able to have Stephen's $36 million without any input or say so from Stephen because he'll be in prison for a murder he didn't do. How much does all the Averys know about what truly happened to Teresa Halbach? Don't know. What we do know is all the evidence, all the science, all the facts points to Bobby Dassey with an assist by Scott Taddock. We know that Chuck and Earl crushed Bobby's Blazer that he was driving the day that Teresa Halbach disappeared. Was there evidence in that Blazer that got crushed? This is a family who, since Making a Murderer came out, has had their family fan support fan group with GoFundMe's, PayPal's, send money to the yard, buy our shirts, and not helping Stephen in any way, not even visiting him. Chuck has never visited Stephen. Barb has visited Stephen 4 times in 10 years. 4 times in 10 years for Barb. Carla has visited 15 times in 10 years. Times. Dolores visited 62 times. Alan, 44. Stephen cannot be manipulated by them. So that is also why they do these things where they'll claim that they don't support Stephen and they'll only support Brendan. That's because Brendan is firmly manipulated by his mother and does what his mother says. But even those numbers, because I have Brendan's visitors list from 2010 to 2020, Barb visited Brendan 433 times. Pete Dassey, Brendan's dad, visited 350 times. Lori Dassey, Pete's wife, Stephen's ex-wife, visited 64 times. Scott Taddock, 119. Bobby visited 21 times in 10 years. Blaine visited 22 times. Brad, 6 times. Carla, 33. Dolores, 13. And Alan, once. So that's how much this family cares that they visit once a year. The equivalent of once a year over 10 years. When Stephen is in prison in the state that they live in. They're going to say they're such great supporters. All you supporters, buy our stuff. Help us. Brad comes and goes all the time. He posted on my personal page on something I posted just like yesterday or whatever. So Brad's done that a lot over the years where he's been in our groups and posts and then leaves and then a year goes by and then comes back. So you gotta understand that no matter how everybody feels about Brad, There's people who really like him, and then there's people that think he uses this case for music or whatever, which he doesn't charge anything for his music. Um, and why wouldn't he make songs about his brother? Um, but Brad is somebody who has stood up to this family. Brad is Brendan's half brother. They have the same father, not the same mother. So Brad is no relation to the Avery family. But Brad is the one that Barb went to when she was trying to reformat Bobby's computer. And Brad worked on computers for a living. So she was asking Brad if things can be deleted off of a computer forever. So Brad reported that to the police, to Manitowoc, right away. He has also talked to Kathleen Zellner about it and done an affidavit. So Brad has been upfront about that and has not tried to cover for the family. And when you do that, you put yourself at risk. It's not easy standing up to the Avery family. They try to destroy you. They have done it to me for the last 5 years. 6 years, 5, 6 years. Chuck has threatened me. Earl has threatened me. Both of them in writing, which is really weird that I have that in writing. Um, you can go into our MAM gossip group. MAM, some people don't understand what that stands for, Making a Murderer. MAM gossip is our closed group. All this information is in there. So it's not stuff we typically talk about here on the Stephen Avery Project. Um, but I did do a live just last week for people because I'm always asked, who are you? Are you related to family? What is your connection with the case? So I did a live in MAM Gossip last week where I went over my history with the family. And so join our MAM Gossip group if you care to hear all that. I'm not going to rehash all that stuff here because I think we were live for like 2 hours. It's a lot. Um, so Brad is somebody who came forward and the family and their fans will target him. So sometimes you need a little break, and it's a lot for Brad to stand up to it because Barb controls who can talk to Brendan. So by him speaking out, Barb won't let him have any contact with his brother. And at times, Barb has interfered in his relationship with his father. Because Pete Dassey wouldn't be able to talk to Brendan either if Barb decides you're done. Is Stephen currently in a relationship? I don't know. Lolly, get your adverbs here. I didn't ask him if he was in a relationship with anybody. Uh, we when he calls, you only have 20 minutes. I mean, he can call back. But we only talked for the 20 minutes, and so I was asking him how he was doing uh, after the death of his mom, and then he talked most of the time about being upset with his family and taking Dolores from him and trying to make money off his name. So I didn't ask if he's dating somebody. So I do not know. Does Stephen's dad go to see him? I don't think he does currently. We just had COVID so there were no visitations for like a year and a half. Waupun, I think, just started back on visitations either this month, so July or June. So visits just started back up, and I don't know if Ellen's been there. I don't think so. But the trip is hard for him. So, um, I am going tomorrow to go visit Melissa Kaluzinski, who is another client of Kathleen Zellner's. Her case is from here in Illinois. Her prison's like it's like a 2 hour and 15-minute drive from my house. I visited Melissa last month, and so I'm visiting her about once. So I only visited her that one time since visitation started back up. And last month's visit was total COVID guidelines. And the visit I have with her tomorrow is they do two different kinds of visits, and you have to sign up for a time slot online, and you have to do it at least 7 days in advance, where before COVID, anytime I wanted to go to the prison, I could just go. You don't have to do anything in advance, and you can be there at whatever time you want, and you can also stay as long as you want. Now you have to plan it out at least 7 days in advance. They're only allowing you to visit for 2 hours, and you have to pick one of the time slots, but they're doing the morning time slots are people that are vaccinated, and the afternoon time slots are people who are not vaccinated. So I won't know until I go tomorrow how different my visit will be with Melissa. Last time it was I couldn't wear a mask in, I had to take a mask from them, and wear that. And then sitting on the table, there was a plastic, plexiglass thing that separated us. And the vending machines are all turned off, so you can't buy them any food. Um, so it's just a miserable, you get to see them, and you also can't touch, you couldn't hug or anything. Usually for visits with both Melissa, or when I used to visit Stephen, you can hug, you can touch, and all of that. And at Stephen's prison, they always have pictures that you can, it's an inmate that takes the pictures. So you can always get a picture taken on the visit, but at Melissa's prison, it's like some guy who's like the activity director who takes the pictures, and he only does it like 1 or 2 days a week for a certain time period, so you're hit and miss on when you can get pictures taken with the inmate. Melissa Kaluzinski, her case is Stephen and Brendan's all rolled into one. She is accused of murdering. Thank you for posting that. Of She worked at a daycare facility, and she is accused of murdering a toddler at the daycare facility. Melissa has a low IQ. She's very impressionable. She was interrogated for hours and hours and was forced into a wrongful confession. She had also asked for a lawyer. They ignored that and kept questioning her. And at one point, she was able to call her father. Her father was on the phone, and in the background, the cops are referring to Melissa as a bitch and all this. And she was just this 22-year-old girl. And I mean, Melissa is the sweetest. I mean, she's a sweet, sweet girl. Um, and they told her, there was an accident and you'll go home. And all Melissa wanted to do, just like when you hear Brendan wanted to go back to class, is Melissa had a puppy. And so she wanted to go home and see her parents and her puppy. And that's what she thought she was going to do, that she was going to get to go home and see Oreo. That was, I don't have a, I have a picture on my phone of Oreo, but not a picture like that. She thought she was going to go home to Oreo. She's been in prison ever since. And Oreo died last year or the year before. I can't remember now. But Oreo wasn't able to make it until Melissa's release. And she lost both her grandmas and Oreo in 1 year. And she is absolutely innocent. Kathleen Zellner, just like she's done with Stephen's case, because Kathleen has been on Melissa's case for a long time. And she does the science and she does the testing and she has the experts and she has everything to show that it was a false confession and there was corrupt the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force, as well as some medical experts who claimed that they were able to see a crack in the boy's skull and that there was bleeding. And the x ray of the boy's head that was given to the defense was this big black blob that you couldn't see anything. And it wasn't until years later that it was found out that they manipulated that. And when you see the real x ray, you can Google it and see it online. The boy's head looks like a giant light bulb. Why does his head look like a giant light bulb? Because his brain was swelling. Why was his brain swelling? The boy had a prior accident that when he came to the daycare facility with this bump and bruise, the daycare said, we can't allow him here without him seeing a doctor because they did not want to be liable for that. Melissa didn't even work at the daycare when that incident happened. And then 6 weeks later, was it 6 weeks later? Don't hold me to that. I'm really bad at remembering the exact time frame. Is when the boy dies. You can't drop a kid no matter how hard you're going to say. And they're saying Melissa dropped him by, just standing up in her arms like this and putting him down like that. You're not going to drop a kid like that no matter how hard you're able to. And Melissa is not going to be the strongest person in the world. She's an itty bitty thing. And his brain is going to swell up like that immediately. This is a prior incident. Melissa was just the one that was working in that toddler room that day. And the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force, who is responsible for multiple wrongful convictions. Lake County, Illinois is the wrongful conviction capital, all due to this Major Crimes Task Force. They pulled everybody in from the daycare to question them. Melissa's sister, Crystal, worked at the daycare. Crystal is the one that was trying to do CPR on the boy. Crystal was questioned, and they took Melissa and Crystal to 2 separate police stations even to question them. Crystal doesn't have the low IQ. Melissa does. So just like Brendan, she's coerced into a false confession, and she's been in prison, and she's completely innocent. Yes, there are 2 48 hours episodes on Melissa's case. Erin Moriarty is who covers Melissa's case. And Erin Moriarty is a good friend to the family and to Kathleen Zellner. I think you might be able to go on, because if you go to Kathleen T. Zellner and Associates, she has a page for the Melissa Kaliuzinski case. And so I think she has the links there on where you can see the 2 48 hours episodes. One is called The Fight for Melissa, and one is called Blaming Melissa. So they're a couple years apart. It was an update episode. Kathleen Zellner is in it. And so you can see her at work in those episodes. And then I also believe on her website, the last time we went to court for Melissa, and Melissa is in the same path that Stephen is, that Kathleen has filed and we're waiting to hear. So it's just that holding pattern. But the last time we were in court for Melissa, they allowed cameras in the courtroom. Unknown caller. I'm not answering you. That just says United States. Um, 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 um. So the whole hearing is available that you can watch. So you can watch Kathleen Zellner at work on Melissa's case there. So I'm pretty sure she has it listed. But I it's like when she adds new things, I think stuff drops off. So I'm not sure what's all still there. But I'm sure it's something that you could Google Kathleen Zellner, Melissa Kalusinski. Kalusinski is Calusinski. Sorry, I know there's lots of people who don't ever want me talking about anything other than Stephen's case, but I love Melissa to death, and you know, she's represented by Kathleen Zellner as well. So if you want to look into another case that I say is Stephen and Brendan's in one for this poor girl who's been in prison now 12 years, going on 13, I believe. And I'm visiting her tomorrow, and maybe Thursday I'll go live on Justice with Jax and update y'all on my visit with Melissa. Oh, and I have to check, she emailed me while um, I've been here. So, all right, let me bring it back to Stephen and back what we were at, just to summarize all of this. Hear about the Candlelight Vigil Memorial that we're doing for Dolores. That is on Friday, August 20th. That will be at Waupun Correctional in Waupun, Wisconsin from 8 to 9 p.m. We're going to be staying at the American by Wyndham in Waupun, which is 10 minutes from the prison. So we'll be doing a meet and greet there from 5 to 6 p.m. We'll be going to dinner from 6:30 to 7:30 about. And right now thinking of doing the Britton House Supper Club. And the vigil is 8 to 9 that we will be doing a live on Stephen Avery Project, so you can be a part of the vigil. And then Saturday, August 21st, we'll be doing the rally at Waupun Correctional from 1 to 3 p.m. Then if you're staying at the American, we're going to do some pool time from 3:30 to 5. Then we're going to do dinner from like 6 to 7:30, undetermined where we're going to dinner. And then we're going to do our happy hour live from 8 to 9. And that will probably be from the bar or lounge, whatever, at the American in Waupun. It is, and the address to that is 204 Shaler Drive, Shaler. If you wanted to call American, the phone number is 920-345-1140. That's 920-345-1140. They do have some rooms on hold for our group. You would have to say you're calling for the West party. And they have a special just till the end of July through, well, I got it through Expedia where it's $110 a night. And it's going to go up to like $124 a night if you book it in August. So, and they're blocking out, I think it's 15 rooms that they're holding for our group. It doesn't mean more couldn't get the rooms. That's just what they're holding. There are other hotels in the area. There's you don't have to stay in Waupun. Oshkosh isn't far. I mean, so you don't have to stay there. But if you wanted to, there's that information. And Stephen is looking forward to seeing and hearing you all, screaming your support for him, showing your support for him, making your signs, and, Waupun. Why is that not how it's said, Monica? Am I saying Waupun wrong? It's so funny. People say I have such a Chicago accent. To me, I have no accent at all. So, am I saying it wrong? um, the prison is in the middle of a neighborhood. I mean, there's just your average houses right across the street from it. There is a sidewalk. It's a public sidewalk. That's where we'll be, on the public sidewalk. We're not. Yeah, fast. Like, yeah, I talk fast. Um, when we had the rally there last year, I called the police ahead of time and let them know we were going to do that. And so they had a couple of cars that were parked there to watch us and make sure, they're protecting both sides. They're making sure that we're not harassed, and then they're making sure that, we're not causing trouble. So, but we're not there to cause trouble. We don't want anything to reflect on Stephen. So we are there shouting our support for Stephen, not there to be a nuisance to the neighborhood. So behave. When am I going to do the next general live for Q&A? We can schedule something for next week, because I've got tomorrow I'm going to the prison, and then maybe Thursday I'll do the live on Justice with Jax about my visit with Melissa. So maybe next week we'll do a live where people can just fire away any questions they have, and we can give you updates. Okay, crossing my fingers, Monica. Any updates we have on the rally, and anything I've heard from Stephen, since Stephen's allegedly going to call me again this week. And he said that he would then tell me something that he wanted me to put out to all you all. And that I may also have some homework for you all, that Stephen wants something sent to his family, some information. All right, I'm going to call this video to a close. So possibly look for me on Justice with Jax on Thursday at 1 p.m. I guess we're just going to plan it. Christopher, if you want to just make an event on Justice with Jax for Thursday. And everybody say thank you to Christopher. Christopher is one of the moderators that I have for all my pages. And so Christopher is the one that makes all the events we do. He's the one that was calling the hotel to reserve stuff. And Christopher comes up with a lot of ideas. And he's also the one that pushes me into doing stuff, because I can get quite lazy. And he's like, how about doing a live such and such? But so Christopher will coax me into getting off my fat ass and getting on here. So, and Christopher deals with most of the messages that get sent to Stephen Avery Project. That's one of the first things I assigned him, because we get inundated with people who message Stephen Avery Project the same questions over and over again, and it's Christopher's job to answer those. So know that if you want to talk to me directly, if you message Stephen Avery Project, I may not get it, because I'm not really watching the messages. So Christopher will have to let me know. So you're better off trying to message me directly, Jax West, if you've got some information you want to get to me, or the email is official Stephen Avery Project at gmail.com. So you can send information there. Oh, and thank you to everybody that I asked previously to send to that email address screenshots from Stephen's family that they were talking about him. Those were given to Stephen, were read to Stephen, because he just wanted to know exactly, see exactly what it was that they were all saying about him. And I know it's really sad, and people are like, well, why would you tell him that when it's just bad stuff? But Stephen asked for it. And Stephen Avery Project is, like I said, it's the support page for Stephen. So Stephen asks and he receives. Right? So, all right. Candlelight Vigil, August 20th. Rally, August 21st. Hope to see y'all there. RSVP to the events so you get the reminder. American by Wyndham in Waupun is where we're staying and where we'll be doing happy hours and meet and greets. If you want to stay at that hotel, get that booked and let us know. I'd like to know who's staying at the hotel. So if you do reserve it, shoot us a message and let us know you're going to be there. So, all right, I am out. And Thursday, we'll go live on Justice with Jax about Melissa Kaluzinski. And then someday next week, we'll go live to talk about Stephen again here on Stephen Avery Project. And if anything develops in Stephen's case before then, we jump to you right away. And if you happen to see there's been a filing, and you can send it to us because you might see something quicker than we do. Oh, sexy girlfriend just got on right as I'm leaving. Hi and bye, Miley. Um, so you can always send it to us if you've seen that there's been some movement on his case, and we're gonna hunt that down and get it posted as soon as we can get it. So, all right, I am out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your support of Stephen, and thank you for all of your kind thoughts on Dolores and for Stephen in this horrible time for him. But we're doing something Stephen really wants by having this day for his mom and a rally for him, because Stephen is not forgotten, and we're going to continue fighting for him until he is freed. Until next time, investigation continues.